we may have a tiny problem. Lithia Bay has been rapidly adding new neighborhoods, new jobs, and new freight traffic, but almost all of that growth still funnels through a handful of local roads. And no one seemed to care until 2 major car accidents happened within minutes of each other. This shut off the city from the rest of the region for hours. Not only that, but workers couldn't reach their shifts, ambulances needed to be rerouted, and citizens sat in standstill traffic watching the clock. Local businesses couldn't shrug that off. If they were going to expand in Lithia Bay, they would need stability. So they gathered hard numbers on missed delivery windows, overtime costs, and production delays, then delivered all of those numbers to the city council, showing in plain terms just how fragile the network has become. After reviewing everything, elected officials knew this wasn't a problem they could fix with a few extra lanes. The data pointed to one conclusion: the region needed a stronger way in and out. So the council drafted a formal request to the State Department of Transportation, backing it with all of the data they had. After years of waiting, revisions, and political second-guessing, the answer finally came back. The new regional highway was approved. So today we're going to lay out that new regional highway, build the key interchanges it needs, and start work on a new agricultural town to help feed the citizens of Lithia Bay. Let's jump in. So before we begin work on our new highway, there's one thing we actually need to check in, and that's our road maintenance. And as expected, it is completely awful because we don't have a single road maintenance facility. A big thank you to this comment right here for reminding me. Now we're gonna get one in, and really there's not too many good places to put this. The best place that I can see is right in our industrial park, right about here. So we're gonna clear these trees, add an alleyway to run through here. We'll do a bit of terrain work, and then we'll place in our road maintenance facility. And then immediately, I think we're gonna have to add our road maintenance upgrade. So this will give us 5 extra vehicles. I really don't know if this is gonna be enough. We'll check back in with our road maintenance at the end of the episode and we'll see. All right, now here's what we're gonna do for our highway. So we're gonna start right about here. We'll bridge off from our 4-lane highway, follow right along our train tracks. This will be one of the entrances into the actual regional highway. Afterwards, we're going to build a nice little 4-way interchange here. This interchange will have 4 movements, one going left for the future, and for the right one, we're going to follow along the shore right up until we get to our external connection. We'll need to have some sort of interchange in this area. Otherwise, we're going to bottleneck this connection really badly, and I don't want to do that. Next up, we're going to have our forward movement. So again, we'll follow alongside this shore here. And now that I'm thinking about this, we'll need to make sure that we give enough room for our train tracks. That way we can do the expansion in the future. Either way, with our highway, we'll bridge over this little water section, and then the goal is to connect back into this road here with another interchange. Now I plan to keep this 2-lane highway right here because I really do like it. It goes up the hill, it's a bit crazy, it's a bit windy, but I just don't see a proper highway going up here. So aside from the interchange, we'll ignore this area, and instead what we're gonna do is kind of reuse the layout that we already have. And to do that, we'll use one of our 2-lane one-way highways and just upgrade the entire thing. Now there's our rough plan. Let's get to work. So the first thing I want to do is upgrade this little train track bridge to be something just a bit more fancy. We have our 2-way train track lift bridge, and looking at this, I don't think it's going to be the best fit. And then we have our double train track lift bridge. And yeah, I think the double train track lift bridge is going to do the trick for us. Plus, it enables us to send boats through here in the future if we want to. Now we're going to cut off this piece. And what I was really hoping to do was add in a bridge alongside here. I'm struggling to find ones that have a highway though. Now, if we get our upgrade for large roads, we get access to this one. And we have officially unlocked large roads, and that gives us access to our 6-lane drawbridge. And of course, it's a normal road. which is just really unfortunate because I'm really not seeing any proper highway bridges. And the reason why it's important is because I don't want pedestrians walking down this road, and I don't want people thinking they can walk down this road. This is a highway. Do not walk on this. What I think we're going to do is just run a parallel 3-lane one-way highway right to the other side and connect into our 4-lane road. So I want all of this to be one intersection, which means we need to create a supernode. And to do that, we'll roughly find this middle point, send it into our highway. We'll grab any old roundabout. We'll add that in. We'll delete our alleyway. We'll grab our 2-lane one-way highway and then just connect it right in. And that's negative 3.3%, which is pretty much perfect. Now with a little bit of luck, when we delete the roundabout, we have one clean intersection. And the reason why that's important is because we're gonna have to have lights here. Now let's soften up these connections a bit. So using Move It, we'll go into manipulation mode. And I just wanna pull these nodes back. Now all of this is looking pretty good. There's one more thing I wanna do though, and I wanna make this more of a free-flowing movement. We'll grab our 5-lane asymmetric highway. And I guess before I let this run for too long, I should probably upgrade it and see if this is gonna break anything. And yeah, we don't have any problems after upgrading the road. Now we'll do the same thing on this side over here. And then we just need to branch off with our connections. Oh no. This alert was the scariest alert I've ever gotten because I could see the shadow of the tornado. I think we're about to lose our fishing industry. Oh no. Come on, not our seafood factory. You can make it through this. It shouldn't be any challenge for a seafood factory. Come on, we got this. We can do this. And there goes our seafood factory to weather damage. Yeah, I think that's a bit more than weather damage. Okay, thankfully it seems like it's moving away, but we have pretty much lost everything. Somehow our seafood factories are okay, even though they were just broken a second ago. But for our cold storage, it'll need to be rebuilt. And for our fishing co-op, it looks like we're waiting for disaster response units because this building has been destroyed by a tornado. Definitely wouldn't have guessed that. And where is this fire engine? Okay, thankfully it's pretty much already here. It's not coming back, is it? Okay, no, it's still going away. I was scared there for a second. It's a very ominous shadow. And thanks to the amazing Lithia Bay Fire Department, we are officially ready to rebuild. Now, it looks like it's going to stay away from Lithia Bay, so let's get back to our highway now. And I was just cleaning up some of these connections, manipulating the nodes, trying to make the movement a bit more smooth. There's one more thing we got to do, and that's restrict this lane from turning into this one. We're going to do the exact same thing with this one right here, so there's no turning right here. Now for our interchange, I've thought about this quite a bit, and what we're going to do is we're going to go into our development tree. We're going to unlock intersections, and that's because I have downloaded a few of these interchanges to make my life just a bit easier. Usually when I'm building interchanges, I'm getting way too precise and focusing on every single possible detail, and there's nothing wrong with that. But we have these amazing pre-built interchanges already, and as long as they fit within the environment, we're going to use them. Now to make these actually work, we're going to grab about this height right here and just pull it all the way through. And I'm not worried about doing all this terrain work because for a project like this, I could definitely see it happening. Now, like I mentioned before, we need one that's going to give us a 4-way connection. I think we're going to go with the angled Park Low B2 interchange. All right, now we need to quickly check this because I've seen some crazy things happen when you place interchanges in, and I'd say it looks really good. There's no crazy sloping, and everything makes sense to me. Now we'll need to do a small curve into this road. And that's so close to being perfect. It's just barely off. To fix this, I'm going to downgrade this road all the way until right about here. So they'll have the extra room to merge over towards the end of the road. And then we'll do the same thing with this one. They're going to be merging on, and right about here is when we'll swap back to our normal 2-lane. And that did not help the way I wanted it to. So an easier fix is just to delete this and reorientate the curve. And that'll drive me crazy if I let it. Either way, now that we have our interchange, we're going to follow along the shore until we get to right about here. And we're actually going to stop here because I want to get the bridge aligned first. And honestly, that right there is pretty much perfect, except for the fact that it is a key wall and not an elevated segment. And now we know where we need to send this road, so we'll just curve right into here. Next up, we're going to have to do some reworking for this area. So let's delete everything behind this roundabout right up to here. And then, like I mentioned, I do want to try and reuse this road. So we'll grab our 2-lane one-way highway, and we're going to start from our external connection, and we're going to pull this all the way down. Now we're going to say goodbye to the only roundabout in this map, because we need to replace this with a nice interchange. Now, one of the key considerations in this area is that this will have to be reworked. This curve's maybe just a bit too intense for the highway that we're creating. So with that in mind, when we aim our interchange, we want to aim at something a little bit more like this. Now we can grab our 2-lane, 2-way highway. We'll use our complex curve, and we're just going to curve into this point right here. And I had to rework it a bit because the first time that I did it, there was a massive amount of terraforming that needed to be done. And even though we may have the budget for it in this project, I still want to try to avoid it when I can. Now we're going to connect these two in. So now, unfortunately, we're going to have to delete to right about here because we're going to rework this to be way more smooth. So first, we're going to grab our 2-lane one-way highway. We'll make sure parallel mode is on. And we're going to have to do a lot of work to send this up at a reasonable slope. That's pretty much perfect at 2%. Now the same thing is going to happen on this side. All right, let's do a quick sanity check to make sure everything's looking really nice. And so far, I like it. It's not perfectly straight. It doesn't feel overly out of place. And I think everywhere except for this little section is fairly reasonable. To fix this, we're actually going to make this elevated. Now the rest is fairly straightforward. We'll use our parallel road tool, and we're just going to follow along right until we connect into our external connection. And it looks like we're going to take a quick break because we have hit milestone 12. We are now a large city. We get 300 grand, which we do not need, 12 development points, which we will need, and 21 land permits. All right, back to building out the highway. So our next highway is going to bridge over this water, and then it'll follow along this water line just right above it until we get to our external connection. Now there will be a challenge with this external connection, but we'll get to that once we're done. And what we're going to do to make this easier, using Move It, we'll grab our marquee, we're going to select all of this, and just set it all to be the same height as this node. That way we don't have to delete anything, we don't have to redraw anything in, it's all ready for us. We'll make this elevated. To keep it straightforward for now, we're going to grab our 4-lane 2-way highway, and we'll connect this across. The only thing that concerns me is that these are pretty long bridge segments, and it's going to be pretty expensive, but honestly, I think I can accept that. Now, we actually need an interchange here, because if we want to develop this land, we can't just send a highway through. We also got to get an interchange to take us up to the top. Now again, we're going to go with our angled Park Low B2 interchange. It fits really well into this area and allows our highway to expand down the shoreline in the future. And mostly just because it's on a perfect angle. We will have to do some terraforming to make this work. Otherwise, this is going to be extremely weird and janky when we place it in. So this top height is 543. Right above our water line is 537. So we're going to grab right in the middle at 539. And we're going to pull that all the way through. And I have a feeling there's a few parts that are pretty janky. Yeah, this entire thing is janky. Look at the slope on that. It's just super odd. So let's try this one more time. All right, and so I decided to swap it to this one instead. I had to do a bunch of smoothing to try and get this to be similar to what it was before. And I think this specifically will transition into some type of expressway that'll serve this entire area. Maybe in the future this can bridge over and be one of the main connections. And also when this area is more dense, we can take this and send it all the way into another outside connection, or we can feed it into this one. All that we have left to finish our highway is to send it along this water line right here until we hit our external connection. So the challenge that I mentioned was due to the boundaries of our map. So you can't actually terraform outside the boundaries, which means when we add this road in, we get some crazy slopes. And there really isn't a way to fix it, unless maybe we drop our elevation down. Yeah, it just barely helps. If we bring it back down to 0, we can get something that's kind of normal. And as long as you don't look too closely, it doesn't look too janky. But yeah, all we have to do is just connect this in and we are done. And I almost forgot, we actually are missing something. We need some sort of interchange to serve this area right here. Because as it stands, we'd only have one main connection, and that's right here on our 4-lane. I can imagine this 4-lane getting overwhelmed pretty much immediately. So we need to build at least one more interchange, and the best place I can see for that interchange is right here, and it'll connect into here. This road is a bit curvy, but it also has direct access to our university and our industrial park, and right now it's probably carrying a bunch of traffic, and we can see that there are lots of vehicles pathing into it, but really the biggest reason is that it's just another direct connection into the city. So we're going to need to build a Trumpet here, and it's going to be slightly challenging because of the hill, but we're going to try and get something like this in. We're not going to be able to use a pre-made interchange because I don't want to destroy the water like I did over there and there. So first things first, we're going to grab our 2-lane one-way highway. We're going to go 10 meters up. We'll turn on elevated. We'll click right in the middle for now, and we'll add that in just like that. And before I do anything else, I just want to make sure that this slope will be gentle. And yeah, that's negative 3.5%, pretty much perfect. Now we're going to continue this down till right about here. Now before we do our branching movements, I want to get the actual circular part in first. And we're going to quickly disable anarchy because I want to know, would this go over without it? The only pop-up I'm seeing is exceed city limits, which is perfect. Now we're going to swap to ground mode. We'll put our elevation to 5 meters. We'll also swap to a 1-lane. We don't actually need the 2-lane anymore. And I want these to be at the same height, so we're going to have to flatten this a little bit. And we'll also grab our 3-lane one-way highway, give this an extra lane to merge into. We'll do the same thing on this side and on this side right here. And now I'm going to clean this up a bit because it's looking crazy right now. It's finally done. I let myself go a bit crazy on this one. The trumpet itself isn't the hard part. The real challenge is respecting the terrain. I was really trying not to cut into the ground, kind of like that right there. But I also wanted the grades to be under 5% for this entire interchange. And then of course, you still want it to come out somewhat clean, somewhat symmetrical. And I can proudly say this pretty much checks all of those boxes. All of the grades are under 5%. It's somewhat symmetrical. And we didn't go too crazy on the cutting into the hill. There's really only this part right here. Now that that's finally done, we can make our connection into this road. And we're gonna do the exact same thing that we did for our other 4-lane highway. After a whole bunch of work, we now have a functioning intersection. Now, I'm not going to give a free-flowing right movement to this road. There shouldn't be that much demand for it. And of course, I immediately proved myself wrong. There's a tiny bit of demand for it, but still, I don't think it's justified yet. And that's going to do it for our interchanges. We're going to build our next town. And the thing I always like to focus on is, why does this town exist? And I can think of 2 key reasons. Looking at our production tab, we'll see we have a massive deficit in grain, livestock, vegetables isn't as bad as grain, and a tiny cotton deficit. So immediately my brain goes to, okay, this is a farmer's town. And what we can also do is piece it together with all of the residents who have been displaced. So when this entire chunk of land right here was redeveloped, it would have taken time for all of these new homes to be built. Where would the people who used to live here go? There really wouldn't be too many options in this area. And that's mostly because we were in a housing crisis at that point in time. Land values were extremely high, and that's what prompted investors and developers to come through and buy all this up. But getting to the point, the way I envision this town is it's primarily a town for farmers, but all of the displaced residents also ended up moving here as well because the land was cheap and they didn't really have anywhere else to go. So with that in mind, let's take a look at our natural resources. And this gives us quite a few options to pick from. And I actually really like the idea of building it right here. So to get started, we're gonna need to join these 2 roads right here into one 4-lane road. We'll send that road down a bit, and I kind of envision it turning into more of like a local country road or more of a local highway. So let's get started on that first. I'm going to say that this road was here before the highway was ever made, because I see this road more as a local county road. And one of the ways we could formalize that is by changing it up just a tiny bit. So we have this 4-lane rural highway. There's only 2 main differences. The shoulder is just ever so slightly smaller, and the speed limit is 80 kilometers an hour. So we'll grab from this point and pull it all the way down. It's probably really extra to do all that, but I think it adds a lot of lore to this new area. Now, we're gonna need a grid, but before we can build a grid, we need to buy some tiles. Now, I promise I didn't look at the tiles before I placed that highway. It just happens to be almost perfect. So we're gonna buy these 3. We're probably gonna need this one, and we'll also buy the water. That's gonna cost us $626,000 up front. We have 13 million. We don't have a problem with that. And it's going to cost us $219,000 in tile upkeep. And I'm hoping that takes us down to, let's say, $20,000 per hour. I would be happy with that. Not even close. And of course we have another tornado. Why wouldn't we? It's funny, I don't think we've had a single forest fire this episode, but we have had 2 tornadoes. So I think the tornado gods are a bit mad at us for this highway. Now, because this is primarily a farmer's town first and a place for displaced residents second, we're going to use our gravel road to start out. We're going to go to our water line, and we're going to try and remain at least 1 full circle away. And that's because we're going to want a lot of room for our farms to actually exist in this area. And for grid size, we're going to go 20 by 20. And the main reason for that is if this area ever redevelops, we can split these blocks cleanly in half. So for example, this is 10, and then this is also 10. All right, now I'm going to quickly build this grid out. Oh, come on, I barely got to put 1 road in. I'm going to ignore the tornado gods, and hopefully that tornado just keeps going that way. But do you see what I mean? We're now on our 4th tornado for this episode. Something's definitely a bit fishy. Alright, and here's the rough layout for our grid. I can already start to see where we're going to have some problems, and those are mostly going to come from these roads right here that are connecting into our highway. Usually in towns like this, pretty much everything is just connected up, so I did try to make as many connections as possible, but I just have a feeling that everyone is going to want to use this connection right here. Only time will tell though, so we'll find out. Now right over here is more of your standard grid. Down here I decided to change things up a bit, and you can tell there's almost like a perfect little suburban community right here. And maybe this is a park of sorts. I didn't want to just plow through the trees or the hill. Now I'm pretty much ready to get some zoning in. Now of course, the first thing we're going to start with is our grain farms, because we have the biggest deficit in those. And we can see that right near this little water area, we have some amazing fertility. So we're going to want to use this. So we'll have 3 over here. And then as we get closer to this side, let's have a big one right here. Now I want to figure out how many grain farms we're actually going to need. And in order to do that, we need to bring some power over here. So let's grab one of our Netherlands substations, and we're going to place that right here by this hill. I forgot how big this grid is. It makes this building look tiny. So let's try and run a road right around here. That way it doesn't feel so small in comparison. And then we're just going to snap right onto this building, pull this out, go back up, and we're going to connect into our geothermal power plant. In order to actually make this connection though, we're going to buy another high voltage substation. We'll place that right there, and now we're good to make the connection. And with all of that, we should have power in that area. For water and sewage, I want to give them a bit of independence. So let's grab one of these water pumping stations, and ideally we place it kind of further away from everything else. The next step, we need a solution for sewage, and I don't even think we have a solution for sewage in our main area yet. I believe we're using the French water tower, which isn't ideal. That's going to need to be fixed pretty soon. But for our new town, we're going to buy the water treatment plant. And that gives us two assets, the Japanese water treatment plant or the vanilla water treatment plant. And in this context, I kind of like the Japanese one better. Now, there's two things we need to keep in mind with this asset. The ground pollution, the air pollution, and I guess the third thing is we want it to be somewhere where gravity can naturally pull all of the sewage in. So let's check to see where our air is blowing. And conveniently, it's actually blowing that way. Now, if we want to make it easy for all the sewage to be pulled into our water treatment plant, then ideally we stay somewhere close to this water line. I didn't really want to place it here, but now that I'm looking at all of this, I feel like it's probably the best spot. Maybe we could even hide it back here. So we'll level this out a bit. And then we just have to run our road into the front. Now, the people who work here will need a place to park. So let's grab an alleyway, and we're going to send this right alongside this building. Now, I should have checked to see if this building has any upgrades, and it does not. Okay, so we're all good to go on that end. I'm going to upgrade this road to be an alleyway, and we'll do the same with this one as well. And that should be everything taken care of. So let's see if these farms are happy now. And perfect, they are happy, which means now we can stretch out all of our farm surfaces. Because really what I want to know is how far will these 6 farms take us? Are we going to make a dent? Are we going to cover our entire deficit? So let's quickly find out. So I've been letting it simulate at 3 times speed for about 5 minutes now. While I was waiting, I created 2 districts. So we have placeholder 2 and placeholder 1. As always, if you have a great name suggestion, please comment it below. I'll pick the top 4, we'll run a poll, and whatever name wins that poll will be the name we go with. Now I think we're ready to take a look at our production tab, and I'm hoping we've made a big dent. We have made a dent, but I don't know what I was thinking. Obviously, 6 grain farms aren't enough to cover 566 tons of a deficit. So I'm gonna quickly place a few more in. And here we go, a bunch more farms. Now I'm dying to know, do we have enough? 162 tons of a deficit. Our production capacity is 437 tons, but we're not hitting it due to efficiency. So we can see this darker blue bar right here. That's our production capacity. The bright blue bar is our production. Now I have a feeling that's probably because there isn't enough workers, and that doesn't seem to be the case. We do have 3 open positions in this area, and only 1 in this area. This farm right here is only missing 1 employee, and their efficiency is bouncing back and forth between 60 to 90, and all of a sudden we're at 112%. So I just had to be patient. Looking back on our production tab, we're so close. We're almost there. but these will level up. So I think I'll leave it there for now and I'll check back in at the end of the episode. And that's actually a good time to see how does our road maintenance look. And outside of a few roads, it's green. That's great to see. It's probably helping to reduce our accidents. I'm noticing there's a bunch of things popping up over here, specifically high resource costs. I'm gonna take a guess and say most of these are stone. So most of them are stone and then metal ore. Now we're not gonna do anything about it today, but we will soon. We still have this area to figure out. Now I'm gonna stop worrying about our production for a little bit because I wanna get some zoning in. For our zoning, we're gonna use platter and we're gonna go through, we'll split up any blocks that need to be split up. We're gonna have a road setback of at least 4 meters because we will need to upgrade these down the line. In fact, I could maybe even see 6 or 8. Okay, so all of this right here is primarily this North American low-density modern housing. So it's just North American style single houses with driveways, garages, and or carports. This is a reworked zoning category, and I'm really excited to be able to use it. Over here, we just have some southwestern low density. Now I want to see all of this fill in before I do anything else. It seems like there's a few buildings that didn't get quite close enough to the road. And this pack still kind of contains these weirder looking houses. But overall, I don't think it's bad. It's nice to mix it up while we wait for all the assets to come. Now I think we obviously need to start upgrading some of these roads. So for now, I'm going to grab one of our 2-lane roads. And anywhere there's a house, it's going to get this road. And then there were a few places where platter didn't work out too well, specifically over here where I tried to tilt some of these. And that's mostly just because I should have upgraded the road first. So we can see that this is just slightly on the edge. Same with a few of these ones as well. And then we just need to fill in Green Street. You're kidding me, another tornado. Can we not get a break from these tornadoes? It's kind of insane at this point. Alright, old-fashioned zoning, doesn't look as nice, but I'm gonna live with it because I want to know where this tornado is. Thankfully, it's all the way over there. This large cargo ship is gonna be in for a surprise when they get swept up. Now because this video is getting pretty long, there's only a few more things we need before we can move on. This town will grow and evolve over time. It doesn't need to be in its end state right now. The first thing we need is a medical clinic. And I'm wondering, what is the population? So we have 489 residents here and 500 here. So we can easily give them one of these Netherlands small medical clinics and call it a day. We'll have one in each district. And for this one, let's place it right here by our farms. And then we'll set it to operate in only this district. And for this district, I imagine this to eventually be the town center. So ideally, I want it somewhere near here. And I think that leads me to this spot right here. We will give it a bit more room. That way in the future, we can upgrade this to be a hospital or whatever it needs to be. We'll also give a bit of parking, and then we'll set this to operate in only this district. Now we need some form of death care, and we're gonna keep this very straightforward. Let's go with a crematorium, and we don't have it unlocked, so we need to unlock it. And we're just gonna go with our Netherlands crematorium. We're only gonna have one for both of these areas, so let's keep it somewhere nice and central. I think right here is a pretty good spot. But what we'll actually do is pull it back a tiny bit, and then we'll run an alleyway across. The only negative to this spot is it's two of our main connections into the city, but I think it should be fine. Now we'll set this to operate in both of our districts. Then we need some type of solution for managing our garbage, and I feel like if our landfill isn't at capacity, we could easily use this one. We do have quite a bit of stored garbage, but it seems like there's a little bit of wiggle room there, so we're gonna set this to all of our districts. And now we need an elementary school and a high school. We're gonna go with our Southwestern Elementary School. We're gonna place that down right there. And then for our high school, we're gonna go with the UK Secondary School. It should fit right here. We'll delete this road and just do a tiny bit of terraforming. And now we'll just place that right in the middle. And do we actually have enough room? Just barely. We'll bump this entire road up by 1 unit. And now we should have enough room. We'll set this to operate in this district and this one. And we'll do the same thing with our elementary school. Now for fire coverage, we're going to use 2 of these Netherlands assets. I see these being a little bit older. These were most likely in their prime when this area was more farms rather than farms and houses. We'll place one right over here, right by our medical clinic. And then we're going to give a little bit of parking for both of these. We'll set our fire station to only operate in this district. And then we'll do the same thing but on this side. And I could easily see this being over by our city services. The only problem is this isn't the best road for it to be on. So maybe this building was actually out here, out in this little forest. And now we'll set this one to only operate in this district and this one. Now we need some parks. So we're gonna grab our American football field, and I'd love to get this near our high school if we can have it. It seems like if we moved our high school over just a bit, we may be able to fit this in. There's an invisible path here stopping us from adding it here. Oh, okay, no, we can't. There's some soccer fields there. I would have loved to have these two together. Is this a main road up here? Yeah, it is. What if we reworked it a tiny bit and we flipped it around like this? We'll push our stadium over a bit. That way we're staying slightly further away from the residential. And instead they'll have a bit of parking for when it's game night. Now I still want a few more parks in, particularly around our elementary school. But honestly, this is a very big hill, one that we can't really just plow through. So this elementary school gets no parks. I think a really good spot for some parks would be right across from our crematorium. And we'll get 2 of these basketball centers in. Now we also have these bigger buildings, and I feel like they could fit really well. So we're gonna start with our apex climbing. And I think we might get this in near our highway. Yeah, I think that's a pretty good place for it. Now all that's left is just to go through and scatter some large playgrounds around the area. And with that, we should be in a really good place. Let's open up our parks tab. And yeah, we got a nice solid green, even down here in our industrial park. Now we need some commercial. And this supermarket asset is just amazing, so we're definitely going to add that in. It is a bit big, so we need somewhere with a lot of room. And I feel like a really good place for it is right in the middle of this grid right here. We will need to upgrade these roads. And one of the unique things about this asset right here is that it actually has upgrades. So you can change which company is in here. The only one I actually recognize is Aldi. So that's the one we're going to go with. And it actually has 164 employees. That's really, really good. I was kind of worried that unemployment would start to skyrocket in this area. Either way, we still need a little bit more commercial though. And I feel like we have this really good section right here. And before we get any other zoning in, let's get a McDonald's. It seems like the perfect place to be trapped by it. You have the basketball center, you have all these low residential buildings. And then of course, McDonald's right across the street. Then we'll have Whataburger. And then for the rest, we're just gonna fill it in with Southwestern low density business. And there's mostly only small stuff left, so I think we're ready to move on to detailing. This usually wouldn't be a part of it, but I'm going to start by filling in all of these blank spaces with either residential, commercial, or more farms. Speaking of our farms, we have this super weird light brown color. I just really don't like it. So we're going to use some of these amazing surfaces right here, and we're going to fill them all in, every single one. I want them to feel much more cohesive than this. In between the houses or any unzoned land, I want a bunch of trees. And I also want both of these schools to be much more integrated within the environment. Right now, they just feel like they've been plopped in and no one cared. So we're gonna spend a bit of time caring for these. And then I want some type of small park or walkway. I think we could probably have that right here. So just a few trees again, a nice little path through here, and it'll be by the water, which will be really, really nice. I think we'll actually do something with this water in the future, but more so when this town starts to transition away from being just a farming town to something a bit more. Lastly, I want to detail all of these interchanges here. And really what I'm looking for is just to give each interchange its own sense of identity. At the very least, if they don't have a sense of identity, I'll take welcoming and inviting. Let's get started. All right, and that is officially where I'm calling it. I'm starting to enter that crazy phase where I just won't stop detailing. And really the main issue is that I've bitten off more than I can chew. This is a pretty significant area. Plus then I'm adding on all the interchanges as well. So for the most part, I had to keep it really light. Although I definitely want to come back and do a bit more here. This area isn't done. There's still a whole bunch that can be done to this little town right here. So I'm going to try and follow my own advice. When an area is still evolving, don't get too crazy about detailing and don't get too crazy about every little detail. There's a few things that I really do like though. I love how this little park came out. Feels very, very nice. Something that I would like to go to myself. Maybe one of these days we'll throw some benches down. This one was a bit of a rough one because the path goes to the back of these people's houses. But I think I've given enough separation in trees to make these people at least somewhat happy. Now, as I was doing the zoning, I started to make some of the areas a bit more dense, essentially evolving from farm town to bigger town. One of my favorite areas is actually right here. So this little park right by the farms reminds me of a park that I used to go to on the res. My friends and I would wake up, we'd walk 10 kilometers, and just surrounding it was a bunch of farms. We'd stay there all day, and then we'd walk back down these dirt roads, another hour and a half, 2-hour walk pretty much. It was a very good time. I also decided not to get too crazy about the farm surfaces. For the most part, I am happy with how the colors came out, but there's a whole bunch of crazy that I can get with that. And it looks like we're having garbage piling up. That's not very good. Something else I noticed as well is we're having some serious issues over here. So the air pollution from the last episode has spread down, and now in our little row home area, we're seeing a bunch of people dying, a whole bunch of air pollution symbols, and maybe we'll deal with this in the next one, because I don't even want to touch this right now, to be honest. There is one big important thing that I want to check on. Okay, so I got good news. We now finally have a surplus for our grain. We started this episode with a 600-ton deficit, and now we have a 378-ton surplus. That's just amazing. I love that. It's crazy though, our stone and concrete is really bad. Those are the two biggest ones now. I wonder if we can trade fish for stone. I think we need to get some trade talks set up. Either way, with all of that, I'm ready to call it for now. Let's jump into a quick before and after. And that's a wrap. If you made it this far, thanks for watching. I really hope you enjoyed. Huge thanks to all of our amazing Patreon and YouTube members. Today's shoutouts go to Jake Hill, Gary Key, Deku, Freya Stark, and to everyone supporting the channel in any way. Seriously, thank you. It really does mean a lot. If you want sneak peeks or access to the save files, you can join us over on Patreon or YouTube. If you haven't already, a like, comment, and subscription really go a long way. And other than that, I'll see you in the next one.